What's up everyone, Bang Bang here, back with another TFT video. It's been over 2 years since I've last uploaded, and this is my first TFT guide, so woo! A big milestone for me, I guess. A bit about myself: I'm currently an Emerald 2 player who plays casually, trying to get in the competitive scene of things. So I'm making this guide not only just to showcase this Double Ekko comp, but also just to get better and learn. With that being said, this video is inspired by Biribiri and BP Paramount, who have created some amazing guides on this comp. So shout out to them, and please take a look at their guides, and they're linked in the description below. The timing for this comp couldn't have been better, man. Patch 13.3 brought some key buffs that make this Double Ekko comp shine. So I wanted just to showcase the buffs that came in this patch 13.3. Starting with Powder. So Powder, previously her ability, she's a key piece in the early and mid game. Obviously she's a trait bot in the late game for this comp. She had her ability fall off basically buffed from 30, 25% to 25% across the board, which I think is pretty good because using her in this comp, man, this ability fall off has gotten me some extra unit kills to basically help mitigate any HP loss early in this comp. Moving on to the 2-cost units. So Camille, as you guys know, in the last month got like nerfed massively, I would say. So they decided this patch to nudge her up a bit. This is kind of key because she is a trait bot and also a item unit holder for Ekko in this comp. So her being buffed a little bit helps to also mitigate any HP loss that would have happened in scaling in this comp. The third piece to this comp is Smeech. So Smeech has low-key been a sleeper's item holder and unit that has helped in the mid game for a bunch of comps. Obviously there's Chem Baron and a bunch of other like low-key ambusher comps, but specifically here she's getting buffed from 2080 to 2070, and this is kind of big because we use Smeech as an item holder in the mid going into the late game, especially if you don't have an Ekko. So this buff is kind of key. And last but not least, Ekko's mana has been buffed from 060 to 050, and this is huge. It seems like it's a very small nudge, but in reality, it's causing him to have more after image casts, and with this Double Ekko comp, man, this is crazy. And I'll be diving into why this is crazy in the next part of this video. So what is the Double Ekko comp? As the name basically says, it's having these 2 Ekkos, preferably with BIS items, and having 5 Ambusher and 3 Firelight. Let's be honest here, probably not going to get BIS items all the time, nonetheless getting 2 Ekkos having BIS items. So let's be more realistic here, is having 1 Ekko with BIS items, and then the other one as close as you can to getting BIS, if not having utility items, and also trying to get them 2-star. One thing to note here is that it's going to be tough for you to get 2 Ekkos 2-star, especially when you're transitioning and you're rolling down at like 4-2. So just want to say that you're more realistically, you might have a 1 2-star Ekko and 1 that's 1-star, and that's okay. I'll be going more into like the permutations and the itemizations later on in the video, so don't worry about that. But this is basically your setup right now for this comp in a nutshell, and this is obviously at level 9. I'll be going over the early, mid, and late game, so if this is all not making sense and I'm saying too much information, just wait on it, just wait on it. So let's go into the itemization for this comp, starting with Ekko. So there's 3 items that I personally believe are the BIS for Ekko. The first being Bloodthirster, the second being Hand of Justice, and the third being Titan's Resolve. The reason for this is that Bloodthirster gives a 25% Omnivamp boosted with 40% max shield, and this is important because it provides survivability for Ekko, especially allowing him to cast more. The second is Hand of Justice, where when he's above 50% health, doubles the AP provided, which is like 30% with AD as well. So I find it very useful, especially that extra second item for survivability with its Omnivamp. And the third being Titan's Resolve is just such an all-around strong item, provides that durability for him when he gets max stacks on top of giving AP as well. So I think those 3 items coupled together is going to be your BIS. So hard force it, whatever augments, anomalies, or whatever spot you're in, if you're able to build these items, these are the items you should be building. Honorable mentions is in the A tier, we have Crown Guard, which gives a 25% max shield, and then afterwards gives some ability power, so it helps with the survivability if you can't build maybe Titan's Resolve, for example. Rabadons and having JG and then Hextech are basically just AP amp items and basically a poor man's survivability item with Gunblade for if you can't hit 1 or 2 of those other 2 items in the S tier. We have in the B tier Ionic Spark. Now this item typically we put on Garen, however for your second Ekko, if he does not have itemization, slamming an Ionic Spark on it's pretty good. We have Archangels as well. This is good for, you know, having AP amp, but the problem with Archangels is that it takes time to ramp, so I put it more in like the B or C tier. And then in the C tier we have items like Blue Buff, GS, and Edge of Night, as they provide like AP and some level of utility for his abilities, but in reality it doesn't provide much for Ekko when you compare to the other items above. And Thief's Glove is basically just a slam, especially for your second Ekko, where if you don't have enough item components, it is what it is, man, and you gotta throw it on. So this is the Ekko itemization. So let's talk about the second unit in this comp, Garen, and his itemization. So Garen, as you know, has an emissary trait which gives 12% HP gain 2 units to his left and to his right. So this is key because you want your Echoes to have an increased survivability, and Garen provides that. With that being said, S tier items on Garen are things like Sunfire Cape, Warmogs, Ionic Spark, which provide health to Garen and as such provide extra health to Ekko. Honorable mentions are things like Steadfast Heart or Gargoyle Stormplate or Bramble Vest, etc., which provide some level of HP gain to Garen. They're not as pivotal as these items, but you can't pick what components you get, so whatever provides HP to Garen, just slam it. So for the final part of itemization for this comp, I want to highlight basically Jinx, some support items, and also artifacts that are kind of key to this comp if you're able to come across them. So starting with Jinx, I think the main item you should just focus on is having Spear of Shojin, because you're going to have not so many item components on average when playing this comp, so you're going to be putting all that on Ekko and dumping it on Garen. So if you're able to build the Spear of Shojin, that would be great, because with Jinx you'll be able to cast often and it'll just help out with extra damage. A Gigabiz support item for this comp is having Banshee's Claw. It's just so key having that extra CC immunity for the Echoes and Jinx as well, so that you don't have like stuns from Elise and Victor coming in and just ending you, especially late game when one fight can just dictate your placement from top 4 to bot 4. And when we're talking about artifacts, just one artifact I want to highlight is having Seeker's Arm Guard. It just stands out as one of the best AP melee unit items to have, and if you're able to just slot that on Ekko, it's amazing. So if you do end up getting that augment or an artifact item and it pops up, just slam that Seeker's Arm Guard, man. So augments for this comp, I basically broken them down into S tier and A tier, with S tier being ranging from auto clicks to, alright, you should probably pick this, and then the A tier being, alright, I don't have any of these S tier options, so these are the backups that I got, I'm gonna click these. That's how I basically broke them down. And just so you know, some of these are backed by data, others are subjective based off of me playing them, so please feel free in the comment section to list what you think is good, what you think is bad, or criticize some of the choices that I've put. I'm open to learning. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. So I don't want to go into all of these specifically. I'll just go over them, you know, very quickly, because it's just going to take a long time to go over. So starting with the Firelight Crown and Ambusher Crown, these will provide a huge spike early on and tempo for your comp. So if you see these, click these like automatically. And if you have to pick between Firelight and Ambusher, pick Firelight, because man, you can build 5 Ambusher and Firelight itself is just so strong when you have 4. Subscription service is OP, because if you can get Garen and Ekko early, you're just going to win streak like crazy, and it's just going to lead you to probably auto top 4, assuming that other people are not giga high rolling. Pandora's is going to give you that BIS factory, and then having that Radiant item as well. Just slamming that onto Ekko is just going to make him super strong. Tiniest Titans will help you keep in line with the game, especially because it's going to be a prismatic lobby. If you have this, you're going to probably lose a lot of health. But on the flip side, this will help you get to that level 8 and basically be on par with Tempo, hopefully, to spike at level 8 or level 9, depending on how you play this augment. Prismatic ticket is OP as well because it gives you those units in the early, mid, and late game, helps you get the Ekko early, and helps you sustain and keep your health at a reasonable level so that you're not just donkey rolling at 4-2 and getting screwed over. You at least have some leeway or some wiggle room. Then you got like level up, which will help you get to level 8, 9, and 10 fast, so you can get that Ekko, you can get that Jinx, you can basically get that Victor if you go to like level 10. So, and then Radiant Refractory is good because just the adding to the BIS factory, as I like to call it. Now going into the gold tier, the most important gold augment I got to say is reinforcement. Why? Because you can instantly get your comp online at 4-2 or whenever you get this augment. Basically, get this augment, you better get your ass to level 8 and just start donkey rolling and get this online, because you'll get your 2 Ekkos, especially if you have items. It's just going to get you to win streak or continue your win streak depending on where you're at, and man, it's amazing. So please click this, love of God. Reunion's another one that I've read actually on Reddit. I've tested it out as well, and it's pretty strong. It's just the only downside is you have to put in a Vi here. So like if you have to pick between this and a Jinx, it's kind of tough. It'll put you in some spots, but you get this online, Ekko's going to do a hell of a lot more damage, and you have this Vi unit which will stun and provide some extra utility. So if you see this and you don't have the other options, click it. Trade Sector is OP because early, mid, and late game is going to give you those units and those pairs, help you find potentially an Ekko early at level 5 or 6. Stunning for me a bunch of times. Pandora's items, as you know, is a BIS factory. You have Patient Study, which will help you get to level 8 or 9 fast, and it'll help you preserve health in the late game, so you could potentially top 4 pretty easily. Raining Gold will give you that econ. Firelight, Crest, and Ambusher Crest are basically like the crowns. They're just going to help you spike and just auto-click those. And then going into Champion, Component Anvil, Young, Wild, and Free, and Pandora's items, these are just going to help you. BIS Factory. And then Power Up will basically provide you that, depending on when you get this, it will provide you that mid to late game spike. Prage that it gives you some of these, if it's, gold going to prismatic. And then Placebo will give you, is like that econ augment that when I get this early, I just auto click it just because it helps me get to 50 gold, build that interest, get your economy healthy, and get you to level 8 fast. Blistering Strikes is, I like to put this as like an S to S minus because it just provides such strong capabilities to win streak and potentially get you to preserve health, because this augment is just so strong. My own personal opinion, by the way. Honorable mentions here are in the A tier is like Belt Overflow. This you just slam it onto Garen, and then it just makes your Echoes hella beefy and also makes Garen a Giga Tank. Flurry of Blows is good because it just makes your front line with the ambushers all do attack faster, have this critical strike chance, doing hence a bunch more damage. Invested Plus is good depending on when you have it. If you don't have much gold because you did the donkey roll and you need this just to have that extra gold to maybe go to level 9 or to roll again, it's good. And also if you're giga rolling and you already have your comp online, you can just abuse the above 50 for the extra rerolls, and then maybe when you go to 9 and 10 you can use this. So honorable mention is good. Immovable Object provides durability by basically increasing the armor and magic resist for your Echoes. Great. Hedge Fund's also good to get your econ online. Loot Explosion's good. I don't think it's like amazing, it just helps you get those units up. And then the rest of these are basically for Inspiring Epitaph. It just provides that survivability and also that boost to your Echoes. The High Voltage is basically giving you Ionic Spark whenever you pick this up. So not only will you have Ionic Spark that you can put on your Ekko or your Garen, it also increases the hex radius so that when you're going in the back line, wherever your Garen or your Ekko is, it's basically just shredding everybody, and it just makes the after images do a bunch more damage. Clockwork Accelerator is good, gives you the attack speed for your team, so I just put it there. It's probably like an A minus, maybe a B augment. And then for going into the silver tier, you have Iron Assets giving you the Component Anvil, which is solid. Called Shot, if you have the win streak, you can just, if you have a strong board early, which I'll be going into the compositions part of like how the early, mid, and late game will be. Called Shot's pretty good. Corrosion's great because it'll basically allow for your echoes to do more damage over time. Titanic Titan's good for if you're basically loose streaking, and lineup is good to provide your echo with a little extra armor and magic resist. So it's kind of where I'm at with the tier list here. So I yapped a lot about the tier list for our augments, so let's go into something that's a lot shorter and sweeter, the anomalies. So the best anomaly to pick is Last Chance. Let's click, power, let's go all the way down. Last Chance. On first death, revive to full health, gain 50% attack speed, 20% omnivamp, and lose 12.5% health each second. With BIS items and the way that this composition is set up, Ekko is constantly healing back, especially with Firelight. I literally picked this anomaly, and my Ekko dies like halfway through the fight, and then he's just not dying with Last Chance. This is, of course, anecdotal, but I'm telling you, this anomaly is gigabits broken. Click it. You see it, you roll for it if you can, get it. If you can't afford to get that anomaly and you have other choices, I would like to go into the tank section. I think Bulwark is solid. I would not pick Deep Roots because you basically are, you can't be stunned, but on the flip side, that you're getting pulled into range, and like, I don't know if you've seen this with a Lone Hero, with Lux and a few others, there's like some weird interactions with the pull and like freezing up the unit. So, I mean, you can pick it, but I personally would not. Some other ones is like Mage Armor is a really good one too, because you're getting magic armor and resist equal to your AP. You don't get a lot of AP off the items themselves per se, so it's not like the best, but it is a good providing like some survivability for your Ekko. Any other ones I would say is that Stone Skin is also very good too, because it makes your Ekko basically a giga tank for the first like 10 seconds of the fight. So for sure, pick this one if you don't have the other anomaly options available. And then Thorn Skin as well is pretty good too, just giving you the armor and magic resist. So those are the anomalies that I personally would pick. Obviously, there's some ones that I have maybe left out or I, glossed over and don't know. Maybe I need to get good. If you guys know better ones, please put them in the comment section. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to know about them. Phew, now we got all that out of the way and done with me yapping like crazy for like minutes on end. Let's just now go into the actual comp itself, the early, the mid, and the late game. So let's start with the early game. The goal here is at 2-3 is hold all them trundles, hold all them steps, and find some ambushers, preferably Camille and Powder. If you have this setup right here with these four, you're money. You can either win or lost streak, but you're not going to be losing hella health if you have this comp set up like this. Now, whatever items you can get for Ekko, slam them onto Camille and forget about it. Just position accordingly, scout your enemies' boards if you're win streaking or lose streaking, and then from there, you're bing chilling. So moving on into like the early transitioning into the mid game, you want to have this comp where you have basically, you still have your bruisers, you have your Camille and Powder, but then you're now slotting in a Smeech, you're slotting in your Scrap. I was trying to like play around with like different other compositions, but I find this one to be one of the better like stable mid-game transitions. So if you're able to get 4 Scrap and 3 Ambusher in, it's pretty solid. I would personally transition items onto Smeech as well, so that you have Smeech as the Ekko item holder, because Smeech with the buff is pretty strong. He helps to reduce the HP loss that you get, especially if you're loose streaking, by killing those units that don't have items. So this is definitely how I would transition from the early to the mid game. If you guys have any ideas of better options here, please feel free to let me know, but this is what I think is a good mid game. Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally in the late game. So once you have that 4 Scrap, 3 Ambusher board, and you're around 4-1 and 4-2, it's time to transition into this board that you see right here. So having the 2 Echoes finally online. Before you get to this comp though and you transition, at around maybe like the end of stage 3 going into stage 4, I would highly recommend scouting to see how contested Ekko is, because if there is Echoes pulled out of the pool, it will drastically change basically when you want to roll and how you want to roll and how like donkey you want to be. So do that. From there, you can do decision making based off of that. So if you're uncontested at 4-2, basically just roll down, stabilize for level 8. I would say like roll down to maybe 32 gold or so, and just see if you're able to hit your 2-cost Ekko and your 1-cost Ekko, or just you have only a 2-cost Ekko, or if you have only 2 Ekkos that are 1-star. That's all fine, but as long as you can just get those 2 copies of Ekkos online, I think that's the bare minimum here. So if you're uncontested, roll 4-2 to 33 gold with that in mind. You can even roll less if you're getting desperate and you can't find them, but that's like your go-to. Now, let's say you have Ekkos that are being contested off the rip, like maybe 1 or 2 taken out, for example. I would roll on 4-1 and just go hard, go ham, and try to get those Ekkos online, because like the longer you drag it out, in my opinion, the less likely that you're going to be able to hit those Ekkos, because they might be pulling it from the pool of the people contesting you. But also on the flip, you could see it as, oh, people are going to take 4 costs and you have a higher chance of getting the Ekkos, but it's kind of a conundrum because those people contesting you are just going to try to get those Ekkos. You see what I'm trying to say? So if you are being contested, 4-1, roll. Once you do roll and you stabilize, this is what your board's going to look like. And if you're healthy enough and you have your econ strong enough, we can take you to now the late game. It's the midnight hour. You've made it this far into the video. Ladies and gentlemen, we are top forward. We are now in the late game. With that being said, at this point, you're probably level 9. You have your 5 ambusher with slotting in your jinx. You have your 3 firelight, and you have your comp basically fully set up. At this point, all you're trying to do basically is scout the board, and now it's about positioning. We are at the final component of this video. Once you have your level 8 or level 9 board, it's all about positioning, baby. With that being said, the goal here is you want to have your 2 Ekkos stationed to the left and right of your Garen, always. You want that emissary buff at all costs. With that being said though, you want to station them directly across from the enemy's carry. The problem is that if they have like an Elise or some champ which basically does CC directly in front of them or in an AoE manner, you want to basically instead against those enemies move your Ekkos to the other side so that they will basically start over here and that Elise will cast, and then they will firelight all the way over to the enemy carry. So it's preferred that you start them across from the enemy carry, but if they got that CC bot around, you move it to the other side. Trust me, regardless of which way you start, the Ekkos are going to be flying all around the map doing their after images. So one way or another, it's going to get to that hyper carry, but the main goal here is to not get CC'd. So focus on killing the enemy's hyper carry, but also try to maintain your Ekko survivability here. That's the main component I would say about positioning here. The rest is just moving around your Jinx, your Zeri and Powder as you see fit. If they have artifacts that will jump in the back line, you know, you just mitigate for that. Other than that, that's basically how it is. You can put your Scar, your Smeech and Camille as you see fit. You can even sometimes put your Ekko Garen and other Ekko in the middle if that positioning will maximize the after images hitting the enemy's carry, especially if it's like directly in the back middle of their comp. So just something to be aware of. That's basically the gist of positioning here. Last but not least, I'd love to give a huge shout out to all of you viewers who have gone to this point of this video. It means a lot that you've watched through all my yapping, all my screaming and rapping about how this comp is S tier and that it'll beat all the comps out there and that you guys are just gonna farm LP like it's no tomorrow. It means a lot. I really do appreciate it. And with that being said, I'm Bang Bang. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night.